So I've got some images for you. Mainly, here's what you need to know. So come to the 4th, we're going to have a new event come up. And basic gist is we're going to have some new items coming. So there's Alien Dimension and Cheetah Zero and Space Samurai, which is a pretty cool costume, and a pal called Black Eye. The main thing you need to know is that Cheetah Zero is going to give you death immunity for 4 seconds. It's going to ignore control effects. It's going to give you 10% attack, 20% crit rate, 15% final crit damage, 20% skill crit rate, 15% final skill crit, 20% pal crit rate, and 15% final pal crit damage. And the next basic attack is going to do 3,000% skill damage, 1,200% current combo damage, and can be crit, 1,200% current counter damage, which can be crit, and a damage equal to 8% of max HP to enemies in the area, and then your character explodes at the end of the duration. Now, for the back accessory, Alien Dimension is going to give you, at the start of the battle, a block of 30% final damage, and it increases your attack speed by 24%, and increases energy regen speed by 24%, and pal attack speed by 24%. And the effects are reduced by 1/3 every 12 seconds. And as for the actual pal Black Eye, it's just going to give you pal ignore evasion by 20%, and his own ability effect bonuses is he basically gives you 200% crit damage on his own. All right, now as far as how they look, all right, this is what the back accessory looks like. So as you can tell, it's going to look pretty badass. So you've got that. You've also got the Black Eye pal, which again looks pretty cool. And then we have the Samurai, which, as you can tell, looks pretty freaking slick, if I'd say so myself. As far as Cheetah Zero goes, this is what Cheetah Zero looks like. As far as the actual event, this is kind of like going to give you a kind of an idea of what you'll have to expect. They'll have Space Rescue and some other bits and pieces, which is basically Minesweeper with extra steps. They've got Planet Defense as well, and all of the stuff required in that stuff. So, I mean, there's quite a bit coming along the way. This is what it's going to cost if you were to go through the individual items such. So it's like 200 for Cheetah Zero, 100 for Alien Dimension. Now, I mean, out of all of those items, I mean, again, the big prize ticket item here is going to be the Cheetah Zero. But the one thing that you can see in there is that you'll also have a chance at the mono. Now, with that in mind, all right, one of the things that I thought I'd kind of discuss today too is regarding the Necromancer, or what a lot of people refer to as the Necromancer, or the Spirit Channeler build that is kind of floating around. I guess the basic gist is, and this is, as I was showing you earlier, scaling basic attack seal, for example, as opposed to a pal seal seems to make more sense. But I think what you really ought to do is get a skill seal. And here's why, right? Because if, let's say, you, instead of doing basic attack and combo and what have you, and this is just something that I was playing around with, which is something that, again, when you're playing around with something, you obviously you would assume that if you're going to go the new class for that matter, right? So instead of going, say, on the Supreme Spirit route, and again, I say Necromaster, but, it's Necromaster, Supreme Spirit, all the same, right? If you go down this route, what seems to make this class work really well, even though, yeah, it can be used in so many different ways, I think one of the things that kind of jumped out at me as something that comes out to be really helpful is I've explored this, and I think this might be where this class may actually begin to shine, is if you go down the Wild Call route, get yourself global HP up by 15%, and then you throw in Beast Dance with it. Or, vice versa, go Beast Hive Mind, Beast Dance, right? But you take that in tandem with the fact that from the extra effects, right, you've got Snowy Night, which is going to give you 2% of your enemy's HP, or you can go First Enlightenment, and you can get 2% of your enemy's max HP, and give it up to 45% if you get 3 or more Cat or Hydra Sprite or Fox Pals, right? Or you can even get in Whimming Palms and give yourself some combo in there, right? The point I'm trying to get at to you is, with this comes the idea that what you could do is basically go, you can get a set of regeneration, And regen and HP builds, like tank builds, for example, you don't. I've never really seen it used, but I think the conversation around it is that the idea would be to bleed a person out, basically, or a death by a million cuts. And I'm going to try this and see if this actually works. So I've got Yogurt Champ that I'm working on getting, which is going to give me a lot of combo as well as crit. And my hope here is I can get, with any luck, I'm aiming for basically a couple of skills. I mean, Enhanced Go is going to be nice, but I don't think PAL damage is really the focus in a Necro build or a Beast, maybe more so for Beast Tamer. But, in a Necro build, I feel like what you really ought to be aiming for, if anything, is actually getting things like, trying to get yourself PAL crit damage, trying to get things that are going to ultimately give you, like, so like, for example, boss damage, not as important. There's certain skills in here, like enhanced attack, where, you give yourself basic attack bonuses and such. But, like, where I think it's going to shine is if you can give yourself either, like, a couple of different playthrough type routes. That is to say, you can go, like, PAL combo and regen and fire off the number of combos that you fire off to give yourself more attack speed. Basically, more or less, you become a really tanky player that way, right? The alternative is you could also become like a skill crit god and get Cloud Drifter, which is going to give you 10% skill crit rate, and then after a critical, boost your attack by 20%, which, obviously, if you threw that in tandem with, say, like, even some of these new build pieces that are coming out, like the back accessory. I mean, because, like, right now I'm running Virtual Connection, which gives me a 15% chance to reduce the target's combo damage resistance, counter damage resistance, or skill damage resistance by a set amount. It kind of makes me wonder if, let's say, like, we go down the pathway of, like, maybe some of these newer pieces. And there's a lot of choices out there, right? As far as, like, shields go and different things that you can do to make yourself tank better, right? But one thing that I thought, okay, this could be considerably interesting, is if you got the new back accessory, then you're going to give yourself 24% or so increase to your speed, right? So, I mean, I feel like the new back accessory, as well as gaining that on top of what, because, like, right now I think a lot of people are jumping all over the Panda House event, and they kind of got ahead of themselves, I feel like, because this next event is going to be really interesting in terms of what you can do with the class. And for that reason, I'm kind of waiting to see how that plays out, because when it does, I think I'm going to do probably Hydro Sprite. I'm going to try this tank build concept out, because I feel like that very well might be the better way to go about it. Plus, I've even got, like, the Pepe, which will give you healing by 0.1%. Like, I've got different options in here that maybe that'll work better. Now, I didn't get the Floral Panda, so I don't know if that's any good either, but I just think there's a viable way of doing this where you can basically advantage your... advantage. Jeez. Like, there's a way to possibly make that work based on what I'm seeing there. And it's like another way to play that class that I hadn't really considered. So we're going to try that out. But the one thing that, then makes you wonder is, what do you do for your prayer statue? And I feel like there's two kind of ways I can approach this. But I think the one way I'm going to try it first is I'm going to basically try and get all global HP, because I know a lot of tank builds run global HP. The other thing I'm going to try is, what if we did, instead of maybe all PAL damage, what if we just did all global attack? So I'm going to explore that too, is what if we do this instead of that? Can we make it so that, we're maybe a little bit more spongier? We take a lot of damage, but we can dish out a lot of damage too. Maybe, there's some middle ground in there that we haven't tried yet. So I'm right now, I'm just kind of exploring that. I just don't have the right pieces in the right place. And the other problem is so when you think about enchants in particular, right? Okay, you've got global damage and then you have crit damage. But one thing that I do know is new and part of the update is we've also got, global PAL damage that we can think about. So we've got the option of getting common foe. I'm thinking it might be more advantageous if we get like an elemental wrath set, because I could also see how, like, maybe instead of, focusing on PAL damage like you'd expect to in the build itself, like, what if we just went down the Elemental Wrath path and basically gave us a stupid amount of skill crit and a stupid amount of skill damage, with all of this healing coming in from the combos and, you know, the tank side of the build, basically making us a really powerful version of a prophet, basically, because you'd have all the health, and then you have the benefit of, you know, proccing your skill crits from both the mount and the added bonuses that you get in the enchants here. Like, I think that could be a viable build, is because you get all those different bonuses, different places to heal, different places to dish out a lot of damage, you know. And so that's something that I'm exploring, but it's something I thought I'd mention to you guys, because I know not a lot of people are looking at this class, and there's still a lot of conversations being had around it. Now, this is just like one idea that's being thrown around there, and it's like, you know, I could kind of see how that might work, you know, but it's like, how do we go about getting there? Because what that would suggest is we would throw like Demon's Mask on, and then depending on whether or not it made more sense, I'm thinking Amber Snow is probably going to get used there. We'd have the Flame Book. And then for here, I'm always leaning towards the Storm Necklace. I'm not as big of a fan of, like, the other skill bonuses. And I don't know, maybe I'm wrong for thinking that. But like Cage Statue, for example, or Crystal Statue, I'd still probably lean towards Time Statue just because of the number of stuns that it comes in handy from time to time. But maybe there's a way to where we can actually see this come into fruition. You know, it's just when you do this, you more than likely wouldn't need Worldly Snare. But rather, I'm going to see if I can get Winged Dreams, because, again, going back to the fact that I think you need a lot of PAL combo to be able to fire off as many of these PAL hits as you can, right? Thereby basically feeding you HP as you're also getting a high regen rate, right? It's like, I think you could also go the Ancestral Will route, but you'd be doing it a little differently. Like, you'd be trying to be a chunkier PAL crit damage type player, where, you know, I think that might be more for the Beast Tamer, but I'm not sure. You know, it's kind of a different way to go about the class. But either way, to be able to really find this out, yeah, I've got to be able to get the gear and all the fun things that involve getting the gear and everything. And that of course takes a lot of freaking lamps, a lot of time, and a lot of adjustments. So I will hopefully have it. I'm hoping by maybe next week I'll have some fleshed out version of this that I can start to show you. But I'm also going to see about getting the back accessory, since that seems to be like something that I think would ultimately turn out to be really, really good. But let me know what you guys think below in the comment section, because I'm all ears. And naturally, if you do want to save some money playing the game, make sure to watch this part of the video, and I'll see you guys next time.